So my name's Lori Fraser, and I'm the mother of a liver transplant recipient. Her name is Kyla, and she had a transplant when she was 4 years old. Kyla was born with a disease called biliary atresia, which results in bile being stored in the liver, which ultimately destroys the liver and causes cirrhosis. So Kyla was put on the transplant waiting list when she was 2 years old, after she had a procedure called a Kasai that was intended to establish bile flow so that she could live until and grow and get older so that she would be a better candidate for her transplant. So Kyla was put on the liver transplant at age 2, and we waited 2 years. Now that was a fairly long period of time because of some technical issues. They wanted to get the most ideal situation, and because we were waiting for a cadaver liver, we needed to wait until the best opportunity in terms of her wellness and the best recipient, the best donor. So people waiting on the transplant waiting list will face decreasing health over a period of time. Kyla was on oxygen 24 hours a day. We were not able to leave the house for more than about 2 hours at a time. She had very little energy. She was very sickly. She wasn't able to participate in play with other children. And we had to be constantly vigilant of her health, because if she even got a cold at the time that a liver became available, she would not be able to take advantage of it. At 4 years of age, Kyla was extremely ill, and we got the phone call from the hospital saying that an organ was available, and she was in the operating room the next day. So she rose to the challenge of the transplant very nicely, sailed through it, and was home within about 3 weeks, which at that time was remarkable given the technical complications and the difficulties surrounding her transplant. Kyla became what we called our little butterfly. She transformed from a sickly little child who was unable to even walk up the stairs to a child who could run and play and had attitude and zest for life and was full of spit and vinegar. Kyla died when she was 10, almost 11 years old. She had almost 7 years of life post-transplant. So the important thing to understand is this transplant was a success. She was given 7 more years. Our family was given 7 more years. Her brothers now remember their sister, which they wouldn't have had she not had the transplant. What happened when Kyla was in grade 5 is she started getting sick, and she developed a respiratory infection that evolved into pneumonia. She was unable to fight it. She started on a downward spiral and was in the hospital for the last 3 months of her life, ultimately ending up in intensive care on life support. She was pulled off all her anti-rejection drugs at the end, and still she was unable to fight the infection. I encourage you to support liver transplantation research and the Canadian Liver Foundation. We've had great success with transplants and transplants work, but we can only get better with better research and manage the long-term outcomes of transplants in a better way.